nyuma jana tulienda kutafuta gumzo pale Maridadi Motors, kutafuta biashara hivi. Kafika pale tukapata na jamaa anaitwa Eric Mwangi, CEO wa Maridadi Motors, akaweza kutupiga voucher ya kuosha gari. Noma sana. Thank you so much. Kama uko pale Seattle Mall na unataka kuosha gari yako ingare, enda pale Seattle Mall, tafuta mahali inaitwa Spa Clean Motor Spa, ambayo ni project ya watu wanaitwa Maridadi Motors, ili gari yako iweze kung'ara. Unajua mwanaume ni gari. Kama gari yako ni chafu, unajiita mwanaume, unahitaji usaidizi. Kama unataka gari yako ing'arishwe, kimbia pale Kiambu Road, Seattle Mall. Uingie hapo Seattle Mall. Pale nyuma kuna majamaa anaitwa Maridadi Motors, wameweza kufungua biashara inaitwa Spa Clean Motor Spa. Gari yako inang'ara kung'ara, mpaka miguu zinapigwa polish. Nilifikiria wameniwekea miguu zingine. But anyway, asante sana Eric Mwangi. We look forward to working with you again. Thank you so much for that. My friend Boniface Mwangi. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you?
Niko salama.
Good to see you finally.
Good to see you too, man.
I've been hunting you down. Nimekutafuta sana.
Bito kumenipata. Unajua, ungenitumia salamu ningekuja mapema.
Ulikuwa unataka yako salamu.
Nilikuwa nangoja shout out.
Ndio ingie. Good to see you either way. Nasikia ulitoroka social media. What happened?
About in August actually niliquit social media for a while because it was too toxic. Kila siku na react, you're fighting with strangers. Nikaona hainisaidii. Nikaondoka kidogo nipumue.
Ukaendanga wapi bwana?
Nikaenda kufunga mbuzi. I became a goat farmer.
Where? Ndio kuja kula mbuzi.
Huko Mumu tu Nairobi.
But we happy to see you. Karibu tena, lakini unajua ukitoroka social media bana, tutabaki na kina nani? Na wewe ndio unatupiganga machocha hapa tukijua ni aje.
Simko na Yesu.
Anyway, tuje kazi direct. Please introduce yourself. Tuambie ni nani? Who is Boniface Mwangi?
Jina langu ni Boniface Mwangi. Mimi ni mzazi. Nimeoa kwa miaka 14.
Hotin.
Na niko na watoto 3. Haya. Kwa kazi mimi ni mpiga picha. Ama photographer. Na wengine wanajua kama mwanaharakati. Ndio.
So that is who Boniface Mwangi is. Mzazi, bwana, mwanaharakati na mpiga picha.
Ndio. Na saa zingine mwanasiasa, lakini walininyima kazi starehe. So
hii kazi unajipeanga bwana, ni kujituma.
Siwezi jita honorable just kuchaguliwa. Kuna watu walisimama nomination wakashindwa. Na baadaye nasema mimi ni honorable. Na honorable wapi? Honorable la kushindwa.
Unajua uzuri ya siasa ya Kenya, ukishaingia tu kusikia tuliomba, hata kama uliomba kura siku 2 na hukupata kura, wewe ni mheshimiwa mpaka mwisho. That's the best thing about Kenya politics.
Hiyo ni jina ya kuomba pesa. Ukisikia muhesh,
toka kitu.
Unajua na gongo.
Unajua hapa ni kubaya. So how was your journey been? You know, umetoka wapi? Umezaliwa wapi? Have you grown? Safari yako imekuwa vipi?
So mimi nilizaliwa mjini Taveta. Baba yangu alikuwa DO huko. So nikalelewa Taveta and then nikapelekwa Ushago Nyeri Mokoroini. Nikasoma nursery darasa la kwanza na la pili, then nikaletwa Nairobi. Nikasoma class 2 to class 6, nikatoroka nyumbani, nikaenda kwa barabara, nikakuwa chokora. Nikashikwa na polisi. Nikapelekwa remand, nikaenda kotini, nikafungwa miaka 7 in approved school. Nikaenda approved school
7 years.
Yes, approved school. Nikaenda up to approved school, nikaenda until I was 14 when I went to form 1 hapa Kabete approved school. Kulikuwa na mashida kwa hiyo shule, kulikuwa na vijana wanauza madawa, kids were being molested. I complained about it. I went to the minister Honorable Sharif Nasir. Nikapeleka evidence ya hizo complaints. Badala hatuichukuliwa kuhusu wale walikuwa wanauza madawa na kunyanyasa watoto. Nikakuwa expelled from approved school. And that was the end of my formal education. So I'm a class 8 dropout.
You're a class 8 dropout. Yes. Ulifanya ndio ukafungwa?
Si hiyo ni nishiko na vagrancy. Unajua kama sheria iko hivi. Wale kutoka kwa mjini sayo chokora. Kuna rehabilitation centers across the country. Kazi ya serikali ni wakati ukiwapata kwa barabara wanawashika, they reunite them with their parents, and if they fail to do that, wanachukua napeleka shule hadi wamalize form 4. That's the work of the government, but they don't do that anymore. So my time when I ran away from home, I was arrested and taken to school.
For roaming around?
Yes, for roaming around, as in for running away from school. And
so nini ilifanya kijana ya Dio dynasty akatoka kwao akaenda street?
So huyo Dio aliachana na mama yangu nikiwa mdogo. So now it's like now we've connected. We talk not as much, but we connected later on in life. So my mother was a single parent of 7 kids.
Wow.
She was never married. So this relationship with the Dio ikuishi sana. I even met my dad when I was 18. I knew he was my father when I was an adult. after my mother died, we became friends. You bonga story. So basically, I was in a dynasty. Labda the deal took advantage of my mother. And then akamwacha.
So ukatoka approved school kukaendaje?
Nikakuwa Hoka Nairobi. I was selling books River Road. Nilikuwa nauza vitabu until when I was 18 years old. Nikaingia Bible school. Nikasoma for 1 year. I almost became a pastor. Then I joined journalism school. Nika study print journalism. Then from there, it's history. I became a photographer. I worked for the Standard. Became one of the best photographers, not only in Kenya, but in Africa.
Wow.
Then in 2007, 2008, I covered...
Oh, yeah, Makofi. Class A dropout. Anakuwa the best photographer.
Asante kwa Makofi. And so in 2007, rather, nikakuwa nikipiga picha. I was covering post-election violence 2007, 2008. Seeing the violence firsthand, I was in Eldoret. I went to Naivasha. I was in Nairobi. I saw the killings, the displacement, and the bad things that happened. And that moved me from being a photographer to becoming an activist. So I quit my job after 2008 and said I want to try and educate people about what happened. And that began my journey in activism. So Kenyans know me more as an activist. But my background is print journalism.
Wow.
Yes.
So hapo ndio ulitoka kwa mambo ya print. History ya activism ni kierere tu iliingia katikati.
Hapana, actually ni kuelimisha watu kuhusu
because of things that you saw.
Ujinga ya ukabila. Ndio.
So let me ask you even before I move to the next question. All right, you've almost taken us through, but hujamaliza safari.
Safari yangu ni kubwa.
Wewe sasa fikisha mahali kwanza. Ulifikaje kwanza mpaka ukapata bibi hata mahali pa kucharenga msichana wenyewe?
Sasa ule msichana ambaye ananipenda aitwa Njeri. Nilikuwa na pikipiki kabla kukuwa na bodaboda. I had a sports bike Honda 250. Ilikuwa inakitoa sauti watu wanaangalia tu nyuma. And I had this nice jacket I bought in France. So nikaenda alikuwa msichana wa kanisa. Alikuwa hapo Steers Mwinde Bingo Street. I remember very well 2006. So nikaenda hapo kwa hiyo restaurant, walikuwa wanapiga story na babiste zake hapo, nikaingia na kijacket, nikatembea hivyo na nasemanga. Alikuwa anaona renegade, unajua. Akaona jacket, akaona kijana, then akaona bike. Na hapo nilianza kutongoza, nikawa demo wa buruburu, au demo na ukiwakatia anakwambianga hi, I am fine, thank you. Boy wa ghetto aliwademo wako uptown.
Hapo ulijiamini wewe.
Wifi yangu inasema nilikuwa nimekuhurumia.
Chokora mpaka ashafika pale ameenda kuchukua watoto uptown.
Umwaka Demka University.
Hey, class A. Ito mwanaume ni kujiamini.
Mwanaume ni kujichocha. Unajichocha bro.
Lazima ujieke rada.
Lazima.
So ukafika hapo familia naona pia hapo.
So we got married in 2008 and we're blessed with 3 amazing beautiful kids.
Amazing.
Yes.
Right. So what is it that inspires you? Mimi naona unapigwa tiaga za zingine unapigwa mawe, zingine nini? Unatoa wapi nguvu ya kubishana na watu kila siku? What inspires? What is the drives you? Because when you look at you, all right, I would, at the background of what you've told me about your service, you've come from a space where you've struggled to find your path, and technically you'd not be one of those people that would say you'd want to rise and want a better society. What pulled you all the way from a guy who was actually a criminal?
I wasn't a criminal.
No, quote in quote. I'm saying quote in quote.
No. I was a juvenile delinquent. There's a very big difference. I did not commit a crime. You must clarify. I ran away from home, and the government said you can't be in the streets. We are going to take you to school, and that's supposed to be. Actually, I feel very sad for the street kids that I see today in the streets. Kwa sababu wangefaa kuwa shule na shule ziko rehabilitation schools ziko mingi,
lakini gava ina
shughuli now coming back to your question, sibishani na serikali na sibishani na watu, na naendeleza haki, naongea kuhusu haki. I fight injustice.
Wow.
Yes, that's what I do. And what inspires me, my kids, I want them to have a better future. I want them to grow up in a better country. It is my responsibility to fix this country. And have to play my part in fixing this country. I can't rely on other people to do my work. And it is a responsibility of every single citizen to fight for a better country. Our forefathers fought for the independence of our nation. They bled, they went to jail, and thousands died fighting for independence. So we, as their grandkids, have to defend that independence and advance those freedoms.
So let me ask you, Boniface, your journey is quite inspiring in a way, because someone who is a class 8 dropout, or let's even say not even class 8, that is hiyo tumeje what's a 20 form 4, someone who is not forward, who you know just finished form 4 never went to college, sitting somewhere,
yes,
anasema mimi sijaenda shule, you know, I cannot fix this life and all that, you know, sitting in a corner and waiting for a pity party, saying maybe the government should come to my rescue and do that things. There are a lot of young people who are in that space where they cannot seem to find themselves, they cannot seem to find their footing in life. What did you want to tell that young man? Kwa sababu ni kama ulijituma from nowhere ukajipeleka mpaka umefika.
So one of the things you have to do, you have to love yourself. Because when you love yourself, you show up for yourself. You do things right by you. So you decide, I'm going to learn a new course, I'm going to study, I'm going to work very hard, I'm going to avoid drugs, I'm going to avoid alcohol, I'm going to be a responsible person for me. Because you have to be responsible for yourself. There's a role the government must do, and it's the role of the government to create an enabling environment for people to do business and for business to thrive. But at the same time, you have a responsibility to yourself to work every day to improve yourself. You can't sit down and be in pity party and say, oh, dunia imeharibika, maisha yangu ni mbaya. Kama unajipenda, you'll protect your righteous mind. How do you do that? You decide, I'm going to study, I'm going to exercise. Before I came here, I was late, and I'm sorry for that. Because I woke up at 5:50 to go to the gym and work out before I showed up here. So I was showing up for me. So every single person should learn to show up for themselves. Yeah.
All right. So you're an ambassador of African Rising. What is it all about?
So African Rising is a mother body for African organization like civil society and activism organization, where they come together to bring back the Pan-Africanism and to bring back that African unity in the continent. So we speak on behalf of every civil society organization, and I am the ambassador. So when there's an issue, like now there's an issue in Tanzania, we can speak about that. Ugandan elections are coming up, we speak about that. Zimbabwe, there's brutality, we speak as a mother body.
Congo.
It's, yes, even Congo. So it's like the African Union for activists on the continent.
Interesting. There's an AU for activists now. Yes. Ndio baba yao sasa.
Mimi ni one of the balozis.
All right, let's talk about Power 254 as well. What is it all about, and where did it start from?
So Power, it's PAWA, Power like for power in English, and 254 is the country code for unity. So Power 254 ni space ya mavijana, ni place unataka kuja kufanya art, unataka kufanya graffiti, unataka kufanya poetry, unataka kufanya photography, ni place ya watu wa mtaa, where you come and learn those skills. So when I started as a photographer, I did not have any mentors. I did not have a place where I could go study and access books and understand photography and journalism. So my struggle to learn informed why Power was started. So we create this space where guys come and learn skills for free. And you learn those skills so they can actually be able to earn a living from the skills and also work towards social change. So everyone who comes to Power and learns a skill must commit to volunteer or work a particular number of hours to give back to the community. So it's that space where art for social change happens. We're the guys who did the Vulture graffiti in the streets.
And I'd like to ask you about that.
Yeah, we did Utawala with Giuliani. We did Tumechoka with Sarabi Band. We have worked with Heart the Band. We worked with Dofanage, Teardrops, Mufasa, Antonio Soul. We're that space where creativity and art is used to bring about change.
So what happened to the vultures? Because at that time it really caused a raffle. Mulipeleka wapi vultures?
Vulture tuliamua tusichore kura za kanjo. And Kidero became governor. You know, in Nairobi, actually, in this country, street art is illegal. So inakuwa graffiti is illegal. And it's supposed to be a very expressive way of just telling stories on walls and beautifying a city. Yeah, graffiti is more beautiful than billboards.
Yeah, sure.
But in this country, it's illegal to do graffiti.
It has been misconceived.
No, it's just ignorance. There's no misconception. What wajui ni ujinga ya watu ambao kwa serikali. I understand that.
Alright. Kulikuwa na mambo ya nguruwe pia. Nguruwe waliendanga wapi? Siku ulikuja ukabeba nguruwe, sijui uliwatoa wapi nguruwe ukawapeleka pale. So na ulisema unavuka mbuzi.
So in May 2013 kulikuwa na mjadala katika bunge ya waheshimiwa wajiongezea mshahara. Walikuwa na kujiongezea mshahara ndio unajua wanajipenda mabonyenye. Nilo la fia tukaona ni kama ya nguruwe. So tukawapelekea nguruwe pale parliament, tukaizita MPigs. Na ukiangalia leo ukisikia wanabunge tu wa MPs ama angalia mtu kama Gado ama Mado ama Victor ambaye anachorea nation, ukiangalia wanachoranga wanasiasa kama nguruwe. And that is the effect of activism in this country, that there is a way that you can communicate very lofty things using art or using creativity. So tuliona wale wabunge wamekuwa ni kama MPs na bado ulafi bado ijaisha, hiyo ulafi bado iko.
Ni nguruwe tu walisha. Mlimaliza nguruwe, mlikula pork.
Lakini bado manguruwe zimejaa bunge.
Zile ziko huko nje ndio zimekuliwa.
One day when the poor have nothing to eat, they eat the rich.
So they'll start eating the nguruwe.
And they'll start with the pork in parliament.
Si mimi nimesema hiyo mboni. Achana kwa siasa, ukweli party.
Ndio. Chama cha ukweli kabisa. Chama
cha ukweli party. Sasa ni wapi ilianzia, and why is it we are not seeing you guys in the discussions that are happening
so ukweli
in the political space?
Ukweli party is a social democratic party. It's a socialist party. Na ukweli ni mtamu. So our symbol is sugarcane kwa sababu ukweli ni mtamu. Na wakati nilisimama ubunge wakati wa mwaka wa 2017 nilisimama na ukweli party. Why is the party not very active? We don't believe in BBI. We oppose the BBI. What we believe in that the constitution should be fully implemented. And that's why we're not part of the discussion, because now when you get a discussion with an illegality to break and destroy the constitution, then you endorse in that illegality by engaging in that. So we're not willing to engage with people who are trying to water down the constitution so they can create positions for themselves.
Right. Even the same thing, what is the story behind Ukweli Party? Ilianzia wapi? What is the ideology? Because you've talked about constitutional ideology. What is the ideology of Ukweli Party? Ni wapi mnasimama aswa? So, ilianzia wapi na mnataka kuipeleka wapi?
Ilianza mwaka wa 2016. Tuli struggle actually. We started trying to register the party in 2015. We got registered in 2016 late. And we launched the party in 2017. We're a socialist party, so we believe that we shouldn't have private healthcare or private schools. We should nationalize all the schools. We shouldn't have private healthcare. All hospitals should be public hospitals. We don't believe that there should be that big gap between the rich and the poor. We don't believe that members of parliament should be going to private hospitals and taking the kids to private schools. We believe that if you work in public service, you should enjoy public utilities. Don't tell us to enjoy things that you don't want to enjoy because they're not good. Yes.
That's the ideology.
The ideology, we're a socialist party. So if you understand socialism,
yes,
actually, we're a socialist party.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So where do you want to take it?
Where do you want to take it? We hope that we are going to have, if God wills, a female presidential candidate for the country.
A female?
Yes. Yeah, or even two females. Why not?
So story yako ya Quran, story ya nani kuliendanga aje ya Starehe?
Member of Parliament for Starehe. So the truth is I ran for Starehe in 2017. And my campaign was funded by the people. If you look at how much money I was given, Kenyans gave me over 15 million shillings for my campaign. 10 bob, 20 bob, 100 shillings. They funded me. So I was a candidate owned by the people. Nilikuwa na bunge kufanyia watu kazi. And when I look at how I lost, I did not lose to somebody, an individual. I lost to a system. Kulikuwa na vifaranga vya kompyuta mingi sana.
So kuna system?
Kuna system, my friend. Hata nasikianga TP nasema kuna deep state.
Aliambiwa kuna deep state.
Aliambiwa kuna deep state. Kuna watu ambao, kuna hii nchi ya Kenya ni very interesting. Kuna watu ambao mnapiga kura kama mimi na wewe, na kuna watu ambao wanahesabu kura. And those are the ones who matter.
How ndio deep state?
How ndio deep state?
Kwa sababu kura ndio deep state.
Ndio unaona baba ameangalia kahangaika kahenga kasema nipatieni deep state nisaidie.
So baba tayari kuna deep state, you think is good.
Baba alinama ndio patiwe deep state. Unajua he has been on his feet his entire life. But now baba is on his knees begging to become president. And begging for the system to work for him so he can be elected. Ukiangalia the last election, there's a man, a brave, courageous man who we should all celebrate. Chris Musando, ambaye alikataa na password ya system, IT system. And because of that, he was killed by the deep state. That's the deep state. How do you kill an election official a week before the elections? Then you have an election that was nullified by the Supreme Court, which shows that those irregularities. So the deep state in this country is responsible for political killings, is responsible for electing the president.
So let me ask you, how desperate are people for political seats, even when you talk about that? They're
not desperate for political seats. They're desperate for power. because when you are in that seat, you control power, you control the economy. You can decide to privatize an entire city. You can decide to build a railway to nowhere. You can decide to come up with fake stadiums and eat money. You can decide to start dams that don't work. You can do Galana and fail, still lie to us. You can have political rallies, then blame Kenyans for COVID. You can have your sister, your brother, your mother as COVID millionaires, then still blame Kenyans for corruption. That's what they want. It's just greed, man. And you know what is so true about human life? There's not enough resources or money for 1 month's greed. And what you have in this country is a greedy leadership that doesn't care about the people. So these people want to privatize this country and make it like it's their personal property. Yeah.
Alright. That's what happened. So wewe unaona story yako ya stare ni ulinyoroshwa na system. Si ati ulianguka, ni mambo ya system.
I did not lose to an individual. No, that individual has no capacity to defeat me.
It's a system that
yeah.
I like the confidence in that. The individual does not have a capacity to beat you.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about there's a film that you've released, Softy the Film.
Yeah, nice. And I think everybody should watch that film to understand how this country works. So it's about how Kenya came to be, how are we formed as a country, from the British colonial days to who we are today. It's a journey of about a nation and the people who work so hard to make things right. It's about a family, it's about love, it's about the Starehe campaign, it's about activism, because people see me at a protest or they see something in the streets, but do they know what really happened behind the scenes? So it's a story about love, sacrifice, and family. It's in all the cinemas. Please go and watch.
Are you still screening?
Yes, it's at Prestige Cinema, it's at Westgate, it's at Diamond Plaza, Greenspan Mall, and Nyali Cinemax. Yes, it's screening across the country.
Alright. Tafadhali kimbia pale uweze the cinemas that have been mentioned. You can please go and watch. You can still go and watch mambo ya Softy the Film. Uweze kuona ni nini. There are people sacrificing for this country big time. One of those people is BONIFACE MWANGI.
Thank you.
They will go out of their way. They bleed. You know, the middle class is a very interesting population in this country. Wanakaa mahali kwa kona, wanajificha, you know, but they are very good news makers on social media. They'll argue about, oh, this country is not working, the political class is not working, coronas, nini marali and other. But we say, come out on the street, let's start fighting. Hakuna watu wachache ambao waweza tu kujitokeza. Let me ask you about your book even before so that I can bring in OJWANG kidogo. Your book, there's a book you wrote.
Yes, so I wrote about First Unbounded, yes. Unbounded in 2016. It's about my best works as a photographer. And it's about my journey from the days of Mama, where my grandfather was a freedom fighter, and my mother's journey as a hawker, and me, my journey as a street boy, as a boy who went to approved school, and to the photographer that I came to be. It's a book that will inspire you to be courageous. And it also has a piece of history. It's my best works between 2002, I think, to 2016. It's an amazing book. And you should get a copy as well, Mr. Bitok.
I should. I should get a copy. I love books, so hata ndaisoma hiyo ili tujue ni nini endelea dunia hii. Tanzania, Magufuli is imitating into a dictator.
Magufuli was a dictator before
Oh yeah.
He's a dictator. I've been doing work in Tanzania for the last 4 years on democracy and activism, and Magufuli is a very intolerant person. Magufuli is like Moi in the 80s. And Tanzania is going down, and it's going to get worse. So what is so shameful is that our region has become the SI unit for rigging elections. There were rigged elections in Uganda, there were rigged elections in Rwanda, there were rigged elections in Congo. Somalia, you can't even talk about it. Ethiopia has instability. And now you have Kenya. And then Uganda elections are coming again in January. And Museveni is going to steal. Like we have become that corner of the world where everything has failed.
We are a point of reference.
We are a point of reference on how to steal elections and kill election officials and rig and intimidate some and bribe others. Almost the entire opposition lost in Tanzania. Yeah, but you know, at the end of the day, Magufuli thinks that he's in charge, but when people get tired and they rise up, he'll fall. There was a guy called Mobutu. Mobutu fell. we kicked Moi out through the ballot revolution, even if his Kifaranga is still around. It's still doable. One of the things we should never do is lose hope. Yeah.
So what is going on in Tanzania? Because you said you're going to speak about it.
What is going on in Tanzania is a sham elections. I hope the AU will get involved. I saw the Americans sent a statement, but Americans have their own post-election violence loading. So what's going to happen now, there's supposed to be mass demonstrations. I don't think if Magufuli is going to allow them. And what's going to follow is crackdown on activists and politicians. And unfortunately, some people are going to die. But eventually, the good side always win. Yes.
Okay. Alright, wacha tuangalie comments alafu tukirudi niachie nisukuma Ojwang kidogo atuambie pia mawazo yake ni zipi. Naona there's some guys who are naona Boni Osoro anasema we hope Boniface Mwangi will never change given a chance. And anasema say hi to my good friend Boniface, he has this country at heart. Dani Mwangi anasema watching from Bungoma, asante sana. Obadia kanasema eti is Kifaranga is still around. Jerry Bogo anasema Baba is on his knees begging the system to make him president. Uru is grinning here to here as the master puppeteer. Naona Elizabeth Thauri anasema good morning. Solai Arab Toga anasema please nipatie ni presidency. Roger Santana anasema acha kuimba, ongea slabo hiyo ni sisikie. Obadia anasema tuned in, loving this brilliant guy. Cheriot Clear anasema Boni bravo, BBI is a fraud. Vikija anasema just jumped in. Moriano Kenyanya Vincent anasema tuned in from Doha, asante. Nimeona kuna mtu ameweza kushare video yake hapa Boniface Mwangi YouTube link. Lima Kilo Mike anasema morning people tuned in from Athi River. Cheriot Clear anasema if Boni supports BBI then something is wrong. I want to hear his stand. Hadi shazo zinasema kwamba ni trash. Tutasikia siku nyingine anasema kuna nini. Wasam James Chiang anasema Boniface the mawe ngumu boy, recognize you as a great man. Asante sana. Congrats Boni mtetezi. Hiyo ni ile harap TikTok. Like Kiblaga anasema how can one do journalism with class A certificate? Just asking. There is no credential needed to join the course like in case of KCSE. Atatuambia alipitia wapi. Just trying to find comments ambayo inaweza usika na discussion. That's Mwangi, what does he stand for so much inconsistent in this pursuit? I lose him so often. Even before we continue, tuambie mambo ya kwenda shule na there's someone here saying what do you really stand for theologically.
So how did I go to school? It's true, I was class 8 and then I went to a school called East Africa School of Journalism. When I went to apply, I did not have my O-level certificate. And so what the director told me, his name is Roy Gashuhi, who is a veteran journalist. He said, you're going to sit an exam like everyone else. And if you pass the exam, I'm going to give you a chance. And I passed the exam and I was top of my class in journalism. And in school, I had a nickname. They used to call me the guy from Harvard. Wow. Because I used to read a lot. Because I had to do twice.
You had to compensate, yes.
Yes, as hard as anyone else. The things, as a hawker between the age of 14 to the age of even 20, because I was still selling books when I was studying, is that I used to read. I have more books than all my clothes, socks, underwear, everything combined. In the car right now I have 2 books that I have to read. So I read every day. That's how I've been able to be where I am today. One of the things people have to understand is that there's something called organic intellectuals. If you know about China, there's Mao Zedong, who's an organic intellectual. Yes, yeah. You look about Malcolm X, who's an organic intellectual. There are many organic intellectuals. Our forefathers who fought for freedom for this country were not university educated or college educated, but they're organic intellectuals. They knew between right and wrong. So let no one lie to you that you need to be educated to know between right and wrong and to achieve what you want in life. And furthermore, about what do I stand for? I stand for a corrupt-free country. I stand for a more just, a more fair, a more equal country where every single person has a decent chance in life, irrespective of tribe or where they're born. Yes.
So there's a story also as well on, we've seen a lot of guys who go to parliament, they say, oh, we are good, we are young people, we're going to make change. Someone is asking, what makes us to be so sure that you're not going to change?
You can't be sure.
Until we give you a chance.
No, what you need to do, what people need to understand, that we should never put our trust in human beings. We need to put our trust in institutions. That no matter how bad person is, the institution checks him. The problem we have in this country, we have rotten institutions, then we have rotten people. And that's a very bad combination.
So we have a double tragedy.
A double tragedy. At least you issue one. Moja ingekuwa mzuri. The other thing is that you voters are the reason why some people are very bad. Because you voters demand bribes from people. Someone buys to go and work for you. Kila saa unaambia kakitu ununua pombe, fanya hivi, nitoe lock, fanya hivi, nipatie pesa. The work of members of parliament is not to give you handouts. It's legislation and oversight. But now you people think that mimi kazi yangu ni kukujengea car wash, kukulipia basari, unaenda unaweka bibi yako mimba, ni kulipia maternity fees. Why do you think people become thieves? Because wanaenda kuchapa madili ndio wafurahisha sustain, yeah.
The voters.
So voters don't even vote for someone because they have good ideas. They vote for money. That's the reason why you have very bad, corrupt people who are drug dealers and thieves in parliament, because you have to choose thieves who have money. When someone can say I don't have money, say wewe umesota, tuwezi kuchagua.
Hawezi kupea kitu.
Mimi walikuwa wananiambia mimi ni maskini, and it's fine. Yeah.
Anakuambia msee itabidi mangoje upate kitu.
Ndugu yangu wewe toka tu.
Tunakupenda lakini hiza.
Anakuambia unanuka shida.
So there's someone also who is asking what do you have to say about the story about sidelining of the DP in the BBI process?
The
sidelining of the deputy president in the BBI process.
Who is the DP?
William Ruto.
So what has he done or not done?
I don't know. They are saying he has been sidelined on the BBI process.
Me, I have no opinion for the DP. I don't work for him.
Alright, I think that was better as well on your stand on BBI.
I can't speak on behalf of someone else. I think DP has his own people who can speak for him. Yes.
Oh, his stand on BBI?
My stand on BBI, BBI ni takataka. It's trash. BBI ni document ya kusaidia wazee wakae kwa mamlaka for a long time. BBI ni kusaidia ambao jamaa ndanga Jaden Ganjawan. BBI kusaidia Ganjawan arudi akiwa prime minister na kusaidia huyu mzae akuwe president. BBI ni create positions for guys who are going to lose as governors and lose as senators and who have nowhere to go. BBI is to entrench political elitism. The problem you have with BBI, it does not add any value to the lives of Kenyans. This country has a constitution, and that constitution works. The president of the Republic of Kenya is very afraid that after he loses this election, he's going to go to jail. So what does he want to do? He wants to water down the constitution, water down the judiciary, so that when the time comes and he goes home, he's able to come back as a prime minister, whatever seat is going to be given, he doesn't get convicted and go to jail. At the moment, we have judicial independence. BBI seeks to water down that judicial independence. BBI seeks to create more positions for political losers. BBI itasaidia maskini. Lakini nyinyi wale wajinga wote ambao mnanisikiza, ambao mnapenda Raila na Ruto na Uhuru Kenyatta na hizo takataka zingine, mkichagua BBI, you will be screwing yourself. Mtakuwa nyinyi wenyewe mnajiumiza na mnajigandamiza. Msikuwe wajinga. BBI itafunga corruption. Right now we have laws in this country that can jail corrupt people. No one is going to jail for corruption. Right now we have laws that work in this country but they're not being followed. The president of the Republic of Kenya defies court orders. The president of the Republic of Kenya doesn't follow any law. So what makes you think that there's a document that is going to come to pass in parliament that will actually strengthen the laws in this country? He doesn't want to do that. He wants to weaken the constitution so that those people called dynasties and hustlers, the other thugs, can be there forever. The BBI is not going to serve any Kenyan. But because people are fools and they follow tribal kingpins, you're going to follow those, you're going to go to BBI rallies, you're going to listen to these people, and you're being lied to. BBI will only benefit billionaires and millionaires. Are you a billionaire? No. Are you a millionaire? No. So why are you following BBI? Itakusaidia. Jamaa amekuwa president for 8 years. 8 years. Hajafanya kitu yote. Why is he giving you a new document? Ndio hapa. Taka. Tukweni hizo BBI mwakisha nazo jiko.
Mic drop. All right. Mama kuchoma mama tufunge kiosk.
Naambia watu ukweli. Wase msiko wajinga. Don't be foolish. Anyone engaging in BBI discussion is a fool. The reason why we have violence in this country, because politicians steal elections. In the last 2 elections, 2013 and 2017, Raila has been calling Uhuru a thief. Now, how is this person who has been calling a thief being good enough to pass new laws? What we need is actually a stronger IBC when one interferes. Problem ni kwamba hao watu ambao wanatubia kura ndio wanatumia kusaidia. Hizi kusaidia this country had post-election violence in 2007, 2008. People died. Over 1,000 people died. 500,000 people were displaced. People lost their land, their property, their lives. Women were raped. Kids died. Did anyone go to jail? No. So why you believing the people who have sponsored the violence are going to help you? Let me ask you. Someone has been murdering your people, has been raping your people, has been stealing your land. You think they're going to pass a law to protect you? No. They're going to pass laws to entrench that impunity. Every time there's a peaceful protest, people get tear gassed. The people who tear gas you and kill you and destroy your property can never pass laws to protect you. Do not let thugs lead you. Hawa watu si kondoo. Wewe ndio kondoo mjinga. Hawa watu ni mafisi, umbwa mwitu. They're just hyenas. Why are you going to listen to hyenas? Are you a fool? Let me tell you, by the way, a hyena can never keep a sheep as a pet. These hyenas will not treat you as pets. Unafikiri ni pet. Wewe ni chakula. You're being prepared to be slaughtered and eaten.
Wewe ni dinner unangojea.
Ndugu yangu. Now, let me tell you, it's going to be a very slow, painful death. Because when you pass BBI, you'll have elected for them to do those things they're going to do to you. So let me tell you, no one is going to screw you if you don't bend. Stop bending.
All right, the issue of the youth. They are saying they're going to give you watavutilia mbali hell.
You don't need You don't need any new law to give youth jobs. What we need is people to stop stealing our money. Wacha kutuibia. Wizi ishe. At youth unadanganywa na token positions. Don't be lied by tokenism. Uhuru has a cabinet of all people. Uhuru appoints ambassadors of all people. Akina Modhaura, akina Mudiawori. Uhuru does not respect all people. Uhuru himself is not a young person. Ni mzee. Why are you letting people who are almost dying decide your future? Jiulize. Hao wazee wako 58, 59, Raila is 74. These people are near to death than life. Why are you allowing them to pass laws to protect you? They will not pass laws to protect you. They're saying because you are aging, how do you stay longer in power? Let me tell you. The moment you pass BBI, mtajua kimeumana. Juu sasa wanasema sasa ni sisi na watoto wetu. Do not allow these people to lie to you. Our saying ma billionaires. If you're not a freaking billionaire, what are you doing in BBI rallies unless you're a fool?
All right. OJWANG. Take it over. Hapo. Maona hapa.
I'm watching this and learning and I'm loving it. I would rather have this conversation than talk to professors because like Boniface have said, and I'm shocked that somebody could even doubt that he cannot do some things because of formal education. That is the problem right there. Because, you know, we have a lot of miseducation, actually, where you don't find young people who are this well-grounded. You find single-issue people. All you find is somebody coming and saying, "Sisi kama vijana." He's handling issues as Kenyan. Corruption affects youth, affects everybody. Toxic power affects everybody. You know, I'm looking at the education we had, and I'm interested because that has been my thinking of late. The education that we give now is the education where what I see with our educated, they're looking for a backseat. And if there is no backseat, they're demanding for one. Not the education that tell them, this is my country and I will do what I need to do to secure it. So this is the true education. And don't be bogged down by those silly papers. Show us what those papers can do, not just mere papers. Don't think that those papers are any important to the country. You know, the education, the true education is that people found education to solve community problems and the challenges of their time. Not just for the sake of papers. That is the true education. If you look at what he's saying, and you know, I don't like this view where we only think education happen in classroom. Most of the education happen out of the classroom. The informal education is as much education as the formal education. When you look at the Timbuktu and the Egypt and whatever, Africans had universities. Actually, not universities, because uni means one. We had multi-university. You see, what happened in university is you come with your thought, but then your thought is aligned to that of the professor, and you are told, now go. You research, you recite people's thought. You don't even, you are not even. Do you know university? Sometimes it can minimize thinking, because you find people who are not in university are able to think. All of a sudden, when they get to university, they can only cite a paper by so and so, and so and so, and so and so, and call it research. And you ask them, what is your thought? You know, when I was a student, there is a professor who told us, you are not even allowed to hold an opinion, leave alone share with me. So then what is that? The education we had was multi-university. You come with your thought, the professor help you and guide you, and you learn as you watch, you learn as you do. So I want to thank him for that. This is inspiring. And again, I'm looking at his inspiration. You know, we had a journalist called Kevin Carter, the one that scooped a prize after he had shown a documentary about South Sudan famine. And in that photo, he had shown a big hawk that was going to capture this emaciated child. Crawling on the ground. And she took that photo, and that photo became, you know, the most important photo in describing the famine. And then he flew back to South Africa. And when he was in South Africa, as he was scooping the prize for that, people asked Kevin, do you know what happened to that child? Kevin said, I don't know. That is what Boniface have refused to do as a journalist. Simply take photos that don't talk to the real issues, remove yourself from the real context. And so when that guy was asked, okay, so here was a hawk coming to eat this child, and you took this photo. You left that child there, and you went and scooped a prize. What was the purpose of taking that photo? And in the essence, the guy said, you know, I'm kind of ashamed because I was simply taking a photo. And I was hoping, you know, I was even thinking it would have even been funnier to see this photo, this hawk, Origo, ate the child. Then that would have been even the best photo. He was simply taking photo. He was simply a journalist. So when I find journalists like Mwangi who have a soul, because that you can't buy in universities, that you can't buy in programs and certificates, he has one. And I've been inspired. Even law, let people not think that law is for lawyers or human rights. People, professors without shoes. They are professors, but they are walking in the village without shoes. These are the people who have protected human rights. It's not some people in Geneva conference room or with AC. It has been people who have stood up in their own way, like Boniface is doing, and saying, this is wrong. It's not people who have crammed all the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and can cite them and ICCPR and whatever and argue in footnotes and thousands of footnotes in law journals. It is people who are putting meaning and not just what makes sense. You know, the other time I was inspired with another man that I met who was arrested by Kanjo, and he refused to bribe. He refused to, and everybody told him, you know, when you go here, just say guilty. He refused, and finally got a bond, and he was able to even bring in those people who had harassed him because he stood for the right thing. You have challenged the so-called middle class, or those who think they are middle class, because to be honest, they are not even middle class, they are broke. Middle class is supposed to be semi-broke, half doing well. So they are not middle class. That's what bourgeoisies tell you. That, okay, now you are us middle class. And you're seeing the person talking like that with the dry, parched mouth, can't even afford lunch. It's a misuse of the word middle class. You are not middle class. You are lower middle class. But the so-called professionals, if you are in countries like the US, you find that people who protest are those middle class. It's the lawyers, it's the doctors. Here, we think protest is for people in Kibera.
For the poor.
It's for people in Madari. And when they're not protesting, as you indicated very well, they think they are too dignified, and all they can do is comment on Twitters. That is the problem in this country. That the so-called people who have false consciousness, they think they are middle class, they are not middle class, think that they are too dignified to stand and say this is wrong. That them, the only advice in the background. So the day they will come up, the so-called educated or miseducated Kenyans, to really understand what need to be done. I think that I've heard what Boniface is saying. I look at him as an atomic bomb tossed on the wall of the government, always as a sign of protest, moral conscience, saying this is the right thing. Is combining the priestly role that churches should have been doing, is combining the professional role that profession should be doing, is combining the role of young university students that are saying, are not just parochial, I am pro or anti, I am for this person and this person. They are issue based. So that is refreshing. But again, about BBI, we have spoken here. I don't know what Boniface think of the only thing that I think is worthy mentioning in BBI, that 35% of the resources are going to go to counties, and that the thinking that, you know what, when we strengthen counties, and we have given up on the national experiment. We did that by coming with devolution, that national, there's nothing good coming up there. Of course, the BBI have tried to give with one hand and take with one hand, because now the counties are being told what to do. So we have ward fund, 5%. We have 35 coming to the counties. I don't know whether that really, because people have made argument, and I agree with them, that probably is the most considerate part of the BBI. I don't know your view, Boniface.
So thank you very much for your kind words. I appreciate. So if I was to make for you a nice black forest cake, very nice with berries on top, and it's very beautiful, and then at the very center I put human shit. You can't eat that cake because it has human shit. BBI looks like a very nice cake, but at the center is full of shit. And you're not going to eat shit just because there's a cake in it. That part of devolution, strength and devolution, can happen through the Senate. We don't have to have a referendum to send more money to counties. The government of the Republic of Kenya, led by Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and his brother, Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga, have the numbers to amend the laws and how much money goes to the counties without a referendum.
The Senate and the National Assembly.
But even the National Assembly as well, they have the Senate and the National Assembly. So
nobody will oppose that provision.
No one will oppose that, but what they want to give us is human shit and say it's a black forest. And we're not boarding that. We're not boarding.
You're not boarding?
No, we're not boarding.
You take no hostage. You take no hostage.
We're not boarding. Atukula mavi willingly. Tukula mavi. Atukule mavi.
Where do you see this country? Because you are losing friends at a very high rate. Somebody might be with you today, but tomorrow you find they have aligned to the big parties, or pro or anti. You are kind of here in the middle.
Yes.
Trying to do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Outnumbered. That does not speak to the value of the ideas,
Yes.
but you are really outnumbered.
Yes.
Alone.
No, you might think so, but I don't think I'm alone.
Alone in this sense.
Yes.
Alone in this sense. Most Kenyans are not with you.
Because they're foolish.
Okay. Okay.
No, it is true.
Right. No, I agree with you.
Why are they endorsing a billionaire's idea and they're poor? Why do poor people work against the best interest? Wewe ni mjinga ina gani? Mliambiwa wajinga nyinyi na King Kaka. Na bado ni ukweli ni wajinga nyinyi, kwa sababu wale viongozi hawakuingia pale cha nguvu. Mliwachagua na BBI itapita cha nguvu. Mtapigia tu kura BBI, but just know you're voting against the best interest by voting this billionaire's idea.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. So the majority are fools.
And that, yes, and we should keep on telling them, even if we find ourselves alone, it doesn't take away the truth.
But what is the sustainability in that?
Because at the end of the day, when the day there's a revolution, they'll come back to ideas and say, this thing was a bad idea. Let's eat the rich. And then they'll say, can you lead us to eat the rich? And I'll lead them to eat the rich.
You lead them to the dining table. There's something that happened yesterday that I noted also, Boniface. Norman Magaya, former CEO for NASA, is crying out for help. He was almost committing suicide last night.
Yes.
And
ni rafiki wa mabilionea.
Alikuwa anapiga baba, alikuwa anasema baba wewe umelaaniwa, watoto wangu wanateseka waendi shule. Yes, and he said he was going to be kicked out of the house yesterday. So the thing is about political, use and dump. And this actually happening even on the national platform.
No, actually the best use and dump is Kikuyus, Kalenjins and Luos. They're the most poorest people. Kikuyus have had a president, Kenyatta 1 to 13 years, Kibaki 10, Uhuru 7. Those are 30 years of a presidency. But they're still poor. Kalenjin had a president for 24 years. They're still poor. Luos have had a leader in the opposition fighting for them for the last 30 years. They're still poor.
But there's nothing in opposition. Boniface, but at the
same time, but if you look at Raila of 30 years ago, who was struggling right now, and Raila is the biggest supplier of gas in this country, and is a billionaire, at least he has enriched himself, but not the Luo community. What I'm saying is, Luos, Kikuyus, and Kalenjins are the biggest casualty of use and
I'm not boarding that.
My point is, your tribe will not save you or help you. So this Norman Magai being used and dumped is the common thing. It's just the way the voters are used and dumped every day. And that's the reason why Kenyans should protect the constitution. The only thing that is going to protect you are the institutions. But if without institutions you have no protection, don't put your hope in man. The Bible says, cursed is the man who puts trust in another man. Or even woman. Do not put your trust in a human being. Human beings are going to disappoint you. That's the reason why you have what? Institutions. Yes. Strengthen institutions, not strengthen the presidency.
But tribes are institutions.
No, they're not. They're not.
What do you mean they're not? Tribes, look at the constitution.
No, tribes are individuals because...
Tribes are individuals?
Yes, you know why? My brother. Yes, when I walk around this Nairobi, I don't see the Bank of Kikuyus or the Bank of Luos. I can't go there and say as the Luo community or the Kikuyu community to withdraw money.
Just because you don't see it written, it doesn't mean that in practice, you know there is a time that if I went to a bank, I'll be told as a Luo, you just want money to marry a second wife.
Yes.
Because we know you are not doing business.
Those are stereotypes.
So yes, and that's why I'm telling you, just because you don't see, and I'm trying to dissect this issue that is it class, and I agree that there is class element, but there is also the sheer issue of community.
But you see now...
And this is my hypothesis.
Yes.
The only institution that works in Africa, forget these Wesleyan institutions, sijui media is fourth estate, sijui opposition party, sijui AYIELA imefanya hii. The only institution that has worked in Kenya is tribalism. And I will tell you why. When Kikuyus are this side, Luos are this side, they are checking each other. Right now, Raila has moved. You have gone to street, you are alone. If Raila was on the other side, you'll be having thousands of Luos. The only institution that have brought check and balance is not NGO, is not civil society, is not newspaper, is tribalism. Right now, the Kales are this side, bringing check and balance.
I disagree. I don't think the multi-party democracy was brought around by tribalism. It was brought around by Kenyans who came together and said, no to more, repeal Section 2A.
It was tribalism because it was Kikuyus and Luos against...
No. It was ideology.
Tell me which Kale was on the side of multi-party.
No. They were actually...
Which one?
They were actually Kales.
Apart from Alexander Muge.
There's actually... So let me say this, because we never went to the streets and did our census of who's Kikuyus, Luo, who's Kamba. My point is, let me say this, and allow me to speak, Professor.
Yes.
The freedom we enjoy in this country were never fought by one tribe or one community. The ideology of tribe is silly because tribe benefits self, not the community. What we need in this country is the constitution to work for everyone. So multi-party democracy was fought by many Kenyans and we got it. The new constitution was fought for by many Kenyans. Many people suffered, not just Luos or Kikuyus or Kalenjins. Everyone suffered and they got it.
Everyone didn't suffer the same though.
That's the truth. And that's true and that's arguable. My point was, There's no
Others sacrifice more.
Yes, that's true, and that happens in life. Even Christ died for us.
Even you have sacrificed more than us.
But I didn't sacrifice as a Kikuyu. I sacrificed as a Kenyan.
Yeah.
My point is, there is no place you're going to cash in or get favors when you walk in because you're a Kikuyu Luo. Like if I go today to Mama Mboga niwaambie mimi ni Kikuyu nipatie mboga na nipatia. If I go wherever it is and say in Matatu say, you know, the president is a Kikuyu, so mimi nalipa na currency ya president.
You'll not get the fare.
So the currency. My point is, tribe doesn't benefit you, but our leaders have been able to come and have this tribal argument. Our community will benefit. But the poorest people in this country are Kalenjins. You go to Baringo, huko Sacho, watu maskini, kuna banditry, hakuna maji, hakuna hospitali. So don't let tribe deceive you.
Proud of our ethnic diversity. That's the constitution preamble.
So there's negative ethnicity.
Okay, negative. Then
and tribal politics. So that is very wrong.
Negative.
Let us note where we have to go as a country.
Because you can't be a Kikuyu and a Kenyan. Are they close to each other?
Actually, you can have cultural identity. And that's how you're Luo and Kikuyu, and that's the diversity is beautiful. But the tribalism as ideology to mobilize is
the negative tribalism.
No. The organizing along tribal lines is foolish ideology.
If I say
because Kikuyu is not an ideology. I won't come and say because I'm Kikuyu, I'm gonna do this for you. No. Tell me, because economics and good governance is not.
Everybody wants that, right?
It doesn't need a tribal SIM card. It needs a brains. So we can actually engage on this on issues without using tribe as a basis for engagement.
So will we be wrong historically if we say, for example, Kikuyus more than any other community fought for independence? Is that historically accurate?
So they suffered more because they lost more land.
Yes.
Because the White Highlands were in Kikuyu areas.
Right, but at the end product...
But they were actually targeted more by the British colonialists.
Because they were resisting more.
Because they were resisting the grabbing of their land.
Yes.
But the Masses lost more land than the Kikuyus as well. And even the Kalenjins lost land. If you go to the tea farms in Kalenjin, my friend, see Zenyu? Half of Rift Valley belongs to foreigners.
Yeah. Of course.
And almost all Masai land belongs to foreigners.
So will it be accurate to say that with all that, because I know even Luyas who are part of Mau.
That's true.
I know Tenyo who killed a white person in Kisi.
Yes.
I know I've talked of Pinyo Wacho and Ojijo Hoteko, who was killed in Luoland. But in general, is it fair to say that Kikuyus more than any other tribe led that front?
I would say they lost more, so they had more people.
No, regardless of the reason, right? They were in forefront.
There was a strong leadership from the Kikuyu community, but it wasn't the Kikuyu struggle.
So why can't we acknowledge that?
No, we acknowledge, but I'm just saying the struggle for independence was not a tribal struggle. Because the Kikuyus lost land, they fought for their land. The masses also resisted. The Kalenjins
everybody was fighting for their land.
Everyone was fighting for it. Even the Coastarians fought.
There was no meeting in Bomas at that time.
Listen, those Mekatili Menza, those Okimau, they were not Kikuyus. Those Koterela Rapsamoi, those Otenyo, as you said.
The Maasai lost more land, but did they fight as much as the Kikuyus fought?
There were few, and they were
they lost land through concession mostly.
Yes, and there were few in numbers.
The treaties.
They had treaties, but also few in numbers, and there was a lack of leadership because the leaders were being killed.
Let me tell you where I'm coming from.
Yes,
and that's what I'm also trying to find out, because you've taken us to 1950s. You don't understand why.
Myself, without blinking, that I'm probably one of the most tribeless Kenyans.
That's for other people to say.
That's why I'm saying it, so that they say it. But I'm looking at this ideology because when we were in the Constitution, there was this thinking of what do we do with ethnicity and communities? Is it a curse? Is it a blessing? In Kenya, are we trying to have a melting pot, or we are trying to have a community, a nation of different communities? You see, those are two different ideologies. Those are two different ideologies. Are we going to have a melting pot, or we are going to accept that we are diverse, but in our diversity we make one nation? This is the thinking the Constitution took.
So if you look at the United Kingdom, they have tribes. They have the Welsh, they have the Irish, they have the English, and they've been having the same issue, ethnicity and all that. but even in the ethnicity, they've been able to rise a bit kidogo and have ideological politics, not Welsh or Irish or English politics, in a way.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with my tribe as a Kikuyu. I
You
have
have problem with negative mobilization.
No, I have someone trying. I have a problem with someone trying to mobilize me as a Kikuyu.
Yes.
And saying that I speak for Kikuyus. You don't speak for me. We're not. We're not homogeneous.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
You don't speak for me, man. I speak for myself.
Of course, they diversity in every group.
So you give me your ideology. Say come and I subscribe to your ideology, but don't just come and tell me to come and
say because you are Mwangi, come with
and come identified with Kikuyism.
So let me give you an example. If I come from Kiambu,
yes,
and I'm a coffee farmer,
yes,
and because we are coffee farmers, we find a party that articulate our coffee issues. But we happen to come from Kiambu because in Narok they don't do coffee; they do wheat.
Yeah.
Don't you see that becomes ideology? But it is because we come from this region.
Now you've confused yourself.
No. Listen, because coffee is not only grown in Kiambu.
No, that's an example. You have to roll with the example.
Your example is fine, but you see now
don't fight the example. Just
you're organizing me as a farmer,
not as a tribe.
Yes, if I sit here right now and I want anyone who knows what they stand for to tell me, what does ODM and Jubilee stand for?
Right.
What is it the party for?
Probably nobody can articulate it.
Then you have no party there. What you have is just tribal kingpins using those vehicles to power. Yeah.
Right. So tuangalie magazeti. Let's just look at the newspapers briefly as we also look at the issues that are going on kwa gazeti. Alafu tukirudi tuende video of the day. Alafu baada ya video of the day tuanze kucomment on the same thing and we also share what do you think of our thoughts. The Standard hapo inasema revealed a plan to recall more learners to school. The revealed plan to recall more learners. Some other students may be recalled, resume classes as early as next week as the government implement its first reopening plan despite surging COVID-19 cases. Tunasema kwamba corona inapanda juu lakini watoto warudi shule. BBI doors slam shut, all systems go, led by Uhuru and Raila, say no to further changes in report. Team rolls out 224-day implementation plan to culminate in referendum by June. Collections of 1 million signatures to start. Ruta allies locked out of the Nevada retreat. Cry fall and talks to chart way forward. But chinsama a woman on the verge of making poll history. Hiyo ni mambo ya America ya kina Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris vipi. Alafu pale pia kuna lawyers in ICC case surrenders about taenda kuangalia. Kuna pia on the people inasema moment of truth as US goes to elections. Kuna Trump hapo na Biden, and then there's a mystery as wanted lawyers give self at ICC. Uhuru rules out BBI talks with Ruta. All systems, DP calls for consensus for the sake of unity. But the president says since the public gave them views, the leaders have no locus to start thinking with the proposals, to start thinking with the proposals. So somehow we can, somehow we can agree on the contentious issues on BBS so that we can move the country forward. Unity pia anazungumza hapo kako nasema lockdown dilemma facing president as cases go up. All right. Daily Nation inasema death of uni East African. Daily Nation inasema here comes ICT trouble for DB Ruta. All right. Wacha tuanze na mambo ya coronavirus. The cases are going up, but the government is saying we need to keep the schools open, or we need to keep opening the schools, but we're also staring at a lockdown. Where is the common sense and the wisdom in that aspect? As my good friend BONIFACE is putting on his, he's putting up for the OJWANG. You're swinging on that.
Yeah, so there is the mismatch, as you identified.
Yeah.
That on one hand, we are actually saying things have taken a bad turn. But on the other hand, we are continuing unabated, including, so remember it's on weekend that the president said they will be reviewing the measures and strongly implied that we might go back to lockdowns. But meanwhile, he's leading the talk about school reopening. So there is no synergy between those two talks. They are two vehicles headed different directions. I think that we will have to see what the talk is about You realize that Magoha have refused that there is no scaling down of schools. We are not going to close, and we are not going to ask them to leave. So I think that right now there is confusion, and it is hard to know which direction in terms of policy the government is headed. They are not seamless. They are not in the same page. We hope that at some point we can get clarity on the same. But there's a lot of confusion. I agree with you, and therefore we can discuss.
So let me ask you. So there's a belief among Kenyans, and I'm one of them who believe that for them the reason why they had to open schools was very simple. They had budget to do desks and order for sanitizers and masks, so they had to spend that money to create more COVID millionaires. And the other thing, there's no way you're going to allow BBI rallies to happen when schools are closed. So for them to justify having BBI rallies, they had to open schools.
You are giving them more benefit of doubt than those people can have lockdown and do BBI without caring.
I know
you see what I'm saying? Because that's what they did last time.
They're trying to be more decent in this time. Because Kenya is the only country in the world that has lost an academic year. The only country in the world where you have a guy called Professor Magoha, who is supposed to be like the most educated person, going by his 100-page CV of conferences that he has attended, but he has nothing between his ears. Because why can't you have measures? The guy had 8 months. The country locked down in March. The guy had about 8 months to ensure that there's a smooth transition of going back to school, but he did nothing. So the point is, there is money to be stolen because there's education budget that has to be stolen. Then the BBI rallies to happen. So they're using our kids as guinea pigs in the experiment. Now kids are super spreaders. So a kid will not get infected with COVID, but won't likely die. But kids are going to kill their parents.
Oh yeah.
Because they're going to get infected, they bring it back to the community, bring it back to their teachers, they bring it back to their grandmother and grandfather. So they're going to actually end up killing people. Uhuru is saying we need to respect COVID measures, but he has no respect for those COVID measures himself.
Especially with the BBI.
The guy is all over with groups of people. These guys are selfish pricks. They want us to sacrifice and suffer. But they don't want to sacrifice and suffer. They want to have whiskey and meat and party while we suffer. Hawana hii boss. Now, wewe kama msikilizaji wa Bitalk show, ya show mzuri sana. Niulize, unadhani watu wanakupenda? Kupendi.
Hata kidogo.
Unasikia wapi?
Unasikia wapi?
Hawakupendi. The only person who loves you is God. Hao wengine achana nao. Even if your mother says that they love you, just prove it.
Hao wengine ni wakora. You need to test the love.
Anyone says they love you, prove it, my friend.
Hata mama watoto lazima upime. What is going on in America? Boni. Hiyo ndio mbaya zaidi.
Wewe sema bana, nizingie kwa shida ndugu yangu na hapa nimeona hakuna vitanda.
Hapo unajua utakuwa unasimama kama kivagio.
Na mbona nenda kwenye unirudi enda kwa hiyo show sasa enda kupatia pale pa kulala.
America, what's going on in America? What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's going to have post-election violence. So
because I saw
Trump's presidency was what we call a whiplash. They had a problem with a black president for 8 years, and so they had to hit back quite supremacist. And Trump is a candidate of hate and bigotry. And now there's a time to turn that tide, because with Trump's presidency, the world has become more unsafe. Because he's basically a dictator. He's a lawbreaker. He's a rapist. He's a racist. He's a tax cheat. He's a tax evader. He's just all manner of things. He would actually work very well in Africa. He practices nepotism. Ameandika his son-in-law, his daughter in the White House. He's a problematic president. But America has a chance to turn that tide today. They're voting today, 3rd of November. But even if they vote out Trump doesn't look like he's going to leave willingly. He's trying to create doubt that there's going to be rigging. There's also a chance that he doesn't want the votes, the early ballots to be counted. There are over 100 million Americans have already done early ballot voting, and Trump is actually afraid that he's going to lose. But eventually, we hope that American institutions are going to work. If they don't work, Africa can send peacekeepers and election observers to ensure there's a handshake between Biden and Trump, and then they can have the MBBI.
We take BBI to America.
A caution government.
Africa is going to send delegations. It's gonna be an interesting time to be alive. Waambia kwamba kuna kitu inaitwa BBI, which is a magic document that can fix everything. What are your comments on America, Daktari? Bunge la mwenye nchi iko wazi. Bunge la mwenye nchi is open 0779-800-010. Bunge la mwenye nchi iko wazi, unaweza piga simu 0779-800-010 0779-800-010. Kuna watu wanasema hapo nataka kupiga simu 0779-800-010.
I'm optimistic but cautious because I also know that the polls have not been polling the real feeling of the white Americans. They have been known to be able to hide their real intention. So if you call them, they will be, oh no, I can't vote Trump, that's racist. But when they get to the poll, they do something else. Right now, there's a lot of momentum being witnessed. I was looking at the bellwether states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Looks like the race is neck to neck. So I don't think it is clear that Trump will be defeated. He might just bounce back. But I'm very hopeful that Biden will win, but it's not done yet.
It's not clear.
Yes, because there's a lot of enthusiasm in Trump's base. Remember, the 8 months have been riots by the issue of the Black Lives Matter that have also scared the white voters, and so the things are polarized. And if it is polarized, then it is in Trump's favor because the majority are white. And so they might just vote for him, regardless of what CNN and MSNBC are quickly projecting. And another issue, there's real fear of post-election violence. Every side is arming, and by side I mean the civilians. Trump is not ready to concede, and the other side is also not ready to be run out of US by Trump. So both sides are armed, and therefore people think there could be a possibility of civil war. And so we are watching that space. I think that is what I could say is going on in America. The idea of Trump is a bad person as a whatever, but there's the oversimplification there. Trump holds a base that have some issues that they have problem with Democrats. For example, Republicans don't support same-sex. That is an issue. Trump is within that.
All right. Yeah. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Gerald. Victoria Chitwa here.
This is?
Victoria Chitwa.
Victoria, vipi mambo?
Mzuri sana Gerald.
Leo umepiga simu, vipi?
Leo nimepiga simu. Habari ya daktari na habari ya bwana Boniface.
Oh, wow.
Tuko salama kabisa.
I've never have the greeting like this. Tuko salama kabisa. Na huyo ni mimi naongea.
We can hear you very clearly. I don't know what's wrong with your network.
Okay, there's an issue that has been eating me up ever since I saw it.
Yes.
Can she reduce the radio volume of her?
I don't know what's going on. We cannot hear you. You now break.
Can you hear me?
Your sound is not very good.
Can you hear me?
Hello. Unakuja vizuri alafu unapotea.
Is her live stream on?
No, I don't think it's on.
Let me disconnect and try call again.
I can hear you now. You're clear.
Okay. There's this document that was carried.
Okay, tumempoteza tena.
Pole. Yeah, ameenda tena. Juan, please adjust your headphones. Your headphones are giving us some reverbs. Just to heaven properly. You have a good place to put the headphones. Anyway, wacha tusome comments nasikia tukingoja simu ya Vicky labda. Anasema just Julius Yego OJW. Hiyo ni mwana sport hodari. Anasema I have this feeling or it can be through a Gerald Bitok. We have very pride young energies energetic Kenyans who can take this country to much better in terms of development, but they tend to allow themselves to be used or they sell their energy for peanuts. Boniface rally them and instill that fear. No character, good show. Hi. Hello.
Hello.
Sasa tunakupata sasa.
Sawa. There's this article that was carried in the Star where the County Health Services Director, Kakamega County, Dr. Collins Matemba, was saying that there are plans underway to relocate patients from a public hospital to another sub-county hospital to make room for VIPs.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is an issue. This is something that Kenyans need to be aware of in line of what you're talking about, that these leaders don't care about people. They don't give a rat's ass about Kenyans. You can imagine when it gets to a situation where now they cannot fly out, they cannot go to the Nairobi hospitals, the Aga Khan hospitals of this world. They cannot use taxpayers' money to fly to London, Britain. They take the meat from your child's mouth. They go to a public hospital and say, sasa Wakenya watolewe. Hii takataka yote itolewe, tunawapeleka uko sub-county hospital. Hii public hospital, sasa tunafanya reservation ikuwe ya ma-VIP.
Wow.
That is something that I would want like BONIFACE and Daktari to lend their voices to. And as we look at this BBI, to be aware of the kind of vultures that we have in leadership in this country.
Wow.
That's very powerful, Vicky. I didn't see that, but that's quite shocking, by the way.
Ouch.
Hawa kora wanaweza kushoka kweli, ndugu yangu.
Hata hii ndio nimeshtuka zaidi.
Usistuke bwana. Wanaibianga watu ambao wagonjwa na wanaibia pia maiti. Hawananga heshima ama.
Vicky.
Yeah? They have no respect for anything. They have no decency.
All right, weigh in on that.
There is no honor among thieves.
Yes, na not any
Uwezi
wakora.
sema ati uwezi waibe na mpango na value na ethics.
Waibe na sabu.
Don't you see even that you donate blood, then they sell it to Somalia. Unaenda una donate blood inauzo out of the country. This country is decaying.
Wow.
And the only people who can reclaim this country are Kenyans themselves. They have to take that responsibility and say, mimi nitawajibika kama Mkenya. Hakuna Yesu ama Muhammad ama Buddha.
Mwenye atakuja ati kutuokoa.
Ama Yusuf ama Khadija ama Mary ama Joroge. It is the responsibility and the fate of the country is in your hands.
Jipanga wenyewe.
Wewe mwenyewe.
Ojwang, now because he's already went on that, let's talk about the issue of ICC. What does it mean? The resurfacing of that lawyer. What does it mean for DP Ruto?
Oh, yeah, that was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yes.
I don't know whether he was arrested or he surrendered.
He surrendered himself. You are a lawyer, you should know what he did.
No, I'm not in the head.
Or you're just gallivanting.
We're just
You're just gallivanting in
we're
town.
just reading newspaper, right? Because at this point we have not seen any court document. So it is more of a guess. But yeah, he's there. Remember, he had warrant, which he had successfully quashed in our court, that he was needed for tampering with witnesses. Remember, in these cases throughout, for both sides, the Uru Mudaura case and the Ruto case, there was the issue of witness disappearing or recanting, more else recanted evidence. Remember, at some point, the Attorney General had been summoned, who explained that, I cannot protect those witnesses until you give them to me. So you hide them, I don't know them, and then you accuse me of tampering with them. How can I tamper with people I don't know? And so it appeared that was Kenya's position. If you want me to protect them, tell me who they are. But if you're not willing to tell me, then don't accuse me of not protecting them, and yet I don't know them. Remember, those are so those who have the Kenya position. So there is, in Deputy President's case, it was dropped without with prejudice, meaning it can come back. And there has been a talk that maybe it is one way that the powers could want to scare him into submission. I don't know whether ICC can do that, but I'm worried because I remember how ICC conveniently found Lubanga not guilty a week before, 2 weeks before election. Then he was able to run in Congo and come with a consensus. That will really show how much the court is political. Right now, the guy is facing charges, but it appears that he might get a plea bargain because after all the cases collapsed. It is a lot of hope to think that he will appear yet, President Ruto's lawyer, Mr. Khan, disowned him and said that guy don't work for us. There was a time that the court actually faced the DP counsel that this guy is tampering with witnesses, and they said, bring him here, prosecute him. He does not work for us. In fact, he is planted to mess our case. So there is that apprehension that what is he going to say? And if he says that, then
what's going to happen?
Then the prosecutor might say, okay, with this new evidence, then let us restart the case. Restarting that case might mean, there's the issue of double jeopardy, that you cannot charge somebody with the same case twice, especially in the same circumstances, unless you show, which is a very high burden, that things have really changed and you have new evidence.
I don't know about the ICC case, but there's no double jeopardy because the case was never terminated. The cases were actually withdrawn, and they said because they can be reinstated in the future for both Uhuru and Ruto.
But for Uhuru it was terminated, I think.
No, there was no termination of any of those cases.
Who is different?
Ojwang, you are in Hague, Ojwang. What did you guys do? Did you terminate?
There was no termination.
Amata ulienda kunywa chai na ulienda kunywa chai na kurudi na
Maybe I
sako.
went on the Article 68 where they were to use recanted evidence that ICC withdrew. Now,
so there's a difference between withdrawal and termination.
But it is the same. You cannot bring the same case, just the same case, until you prove that you have new, substantial
that I agree.
Evidence.
So that means that's not double jeopardy.
It's double jeopardy in the sense that in practice it is double jeopardy because you are charging the same person. The whole idea of justice is that you shouldn't be so desperate to try somebody until you prove that you have real issues on
That's true, but you see, that means you can't charge someone if you acquit them. That's where double jeopardy applies. But if you have new evidence or fresh evidence on an individual, you can actually reinstate a case. That's where they decide to withdraw before they lose the case.
Yeah, in practice, it might make difference philosophically, but in practice, I've never seen, or very rarely, where a prosecutor in an international case can withdraw a case and then come back. Even in Kenya,
you know why they would do that? Because if your suspects are president and deputy president, you for them to leave power.
Then you come and deal with them. But again, on the same thing, Boniface. You see now, the ICC conversation is not sincere because it's being used as a scaremongering tactic, political scaremongering tactic, and the same. I don't want you to weigh on that because this is something that you are in. You saw it happening. You're in the middle of it. I mean, not ICC, the violence that happened. You are in between the post-election violence. You shared pictures of very gory. That I mean, you are in the middle of it. Now let's look at it this way. Because now what is happening is it's more of a political tool. Like they're saying, okay, Boniface, is either you keep quiet or we go and remove this character from this. What does that make you feel about, especially as we're talking about?
This is a conversation between murderers. See, those guys, all of them were in the Hague, and the beneficiaries of those murders are in this country. What is very sad is that the perpetrators of post-election violence were never prosecuted, and they're foot soldiers. The people who died in this country, the more people who died in this country were witnesses, and were murdered by the state. So if they're saying that Ruto case should be revived, which I don't know, even Uhuru case should be revived, and Major Ali and Joshua Sam and Mudhaura, because all those people were mentioned actually on the same case. But I have no idea what's going on. As you say, there's no one among thieves, and I also believe there is no one among murderers.
They're all one and the same, cut from the same material.
Murderer defenders, because they were not guilty.
My friend, those guys are guilty as fuck.
Roja tuangalie video so that we can release to get.
Nenda Nakuru, na kama kuna mtu anaweza nipatia lift saa 8 ya kurudi Nairobi, naomba lift. Nifaa kurudi na matatu. So kama kuna unatoka Nakuru na Nairobi,
unafaa utupeka kitu ya kuombea lift. Unajua tunakuombea lift lazima tuacheka kitu tunakuombea lift.
Na wasiniue.
Hata kufinya bwana huko. Wacha tusikie story ya siasa. Unajua wanasiasa are very funny people. Quite interesting people. Milioni Odhiambo the other day alikuwa na Limuru, jana nimeona alikuwa ameagiana umeshikana kabisa.
Toka kuambie Uhuru Kenyatta ni fisi. Mimi Odhiambo nimesema yeye ni mwizi na ni fisi, and we don't care about him and we don't respect him. This is not a police state. He will not intimidate us. Aanze kupack that tundu direct na tuchezi.
Na hapo mnafanya nini? Kwa nini mmesimama kwa process?
We are here to represent our people. And Uhuru Kenyatta cannot bring us police to intimidate us, telling us that we have to walk. Nimenifanya nitoe viatu to walk to parliament. Who does Uhuru Kenyatta think is? Who does he think is? He's only a president because he stole election. He does not even compare to me. Wacha Raila Odinga. He does not even compare to me. Mshenzi! Mwambia Uhuru Kenyatta mimi nimesema yeye ni mshenzi. Anipeleke kotini.
Are you planning to stop the speaker from going into the assembly?
Asante sana. Well done. Thank you. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you.
In 2017, and that is Millie Odhiambo now hugging and holding tight with the president, all the romance and whatever that can exist. What does that make you feel about politicians? When you're having this conversation, there are people like Baby Bendo who left us, the violence that left, there are people who got hurt in their elections. Where are these people in any question of politicians?
See, I told you those guys, Millie Odhiambo's self-interest is now covered. Whatever she wanted, Baba is in the same bed with Uhuru Kenyatta, so lazima pale mtu kuwaletea towels na kuwapanguza, and Millie Odhiambo is doing a good job on that.
It's now the chance of other people to be molested.
It's a turn to it, and it's a shame actually. I watched Orengo yesterday standing between Uhuru and Raila. I said, how low have we sunk as a country that our liberators have become our molesters and our sellouts? Wow. Baba promised to take us to Canaan, and then along the way realized maybe Pharaoh has good cheese and good wine, and he took us back to Pharaoh. And so, if you see, let me say this: when you see your enemy dining with your savior, just know you are alone. Please run. Yes, do not let their words deceive you. Watch their actions. Usidanganywe na maneno. Tumedanganywa na maneno for a long time. Do not listen to what they're saying. Look to what they're doing. They're high-fiving each other. They're hugging each other. Guess who's on the dinner table? It's you, and you're not on the seat. You're on the menu. Wanakuprepare kukukaranga. Toroka kabla ukarangwe. Do not be like that frog that was thrown into cold water. Then they put fire, and before they knew it, the water was boiling too hot. It couldn't jump out.
And the frog was warming up.
Yes,
these guys are very good. They're giving me a warm shower.
That warm water is to skin you alive. Please jump the moment they put you in a pot. And now you're in the pot. They're about to light the fire. And BB is that fire. And referendum is that fire. Toerokeni wa Kenya.
Kabla mujaiva. OJWANG.
You know, I want two things. Just to comment briefly that I think the ICC story can actually help Ruto more. Because remember, they were elected from nowhere
on an ICC ticket.
This will bring together again Rift Valley and Central Kenya. Which they are already together, but it will cement it. And it will again push NASA on the other side. So politically, it's not a bad thing for DP. But in terms of my assessment, the threat is very low. Of them reopening the case. It's very minimum. I'll put it at 10%. Because ICC have also have enough beating from Africa that they have been, you know, Bensouda cannot even go to the US. She has refused to prosecute serious, important cases around the world. Now, again, revisiting Kenya might be not strategic. And I don't think they can, because they have already burned their hand with the African Union. African Union have...
We should not look at justice on strategic and comparison with other shithole countries. Therein lies the problem. Were crimes committed in Kenya? Yes. Were there perpetrators? Yes. Let us look through the lens of justice, not the lens of strategy.
Right, but I'm just saying the outcome. Because, you know...
We can't predict. We're not prophets.
Justice...
Professor.
No, I'm trying to.
Don't be a prophet.
I'm trying to. Justice can be experiential justice. And you see, justice is broad and that's many users. But I'm saying in terms of the outcome, that where the court is right now is at a time that is trying to reconcile with African Union, because it has got a lot of beating from the US. So it is very unlikely that it will again come to Kenya. In fact, they have done a good job in deterring violence. If there was no ICC, I think people will have done something foolish again. But in terms of them also, you know, they are also afraid of this Kenya situation because it is almost a moving target, especially coming to election. And I don't think they will want, again, to come back near to election. I don't think so. So strategy, I'm looking at the prosecutorial strategy, not the strategy from anybody else's perspective, but the prosecutorial and then the chances. Now you know, we remember that the president asked apewe mtu wake wa kumtengenezea vitu akiwa Kisumu, and I've seen a lot of social media asking, have ODM delivered on this?
They have delivered millions.
So, but you know, Millie Odhiambo is a very sharp lawyer, and but caught up in politics. And in politics, she was not even consulted to be told, now from today I'm going to be having you hug Uhuru. She has to find her own way of hugging and showing that
we have really reconciled.
Yes. All she needed then, which of course it's sad because it shows desperation and makes people like Boniface, who have been consistent, question that when were you lying to us? Was it when you were abusing him or when you were hugging him? Because you cannot have your cake and eat it. So why have your cake if you are not going to eat it?
So as we conclude,
your tackle of the day, Boniface.
I want to say this. So the Bible is very clear about forgiveness and reconciliation. If you're a thief and you want to be forgiven, you must return what you stole, and you must confess your sins. None of these rapists and murderers have confessed what they did. Neither have they returned the stolen land, the stolen property, and the stolen money. So if they haven't returned what they stole, they're coming back to steal from you. They're not remorseful, they're just pretending. Just know that. At the end of the day, as a poor person in this country, vote for your best interest. Remember that. You are on your own, uko peke yako.
Wow.
So vote for your own best interest. And it's not tribe, it's your pocket. I'm done.
Mic drop. OJWANG.
Wow.
Your tackle of the day.
I agree here with Boniface. Have things like justice, not individual. Be consistent with things like democracy, good governance. Then it will not matter. You will not be tossed with the whims of politicians from one side to the other. Because it is embarrassing for somebody who was standing for justice, as you're saying, for example, Senator Orengo, standing in between there, and midwifing a painful process that is not pro-democracy. So as Kenyans, and maybe not politicians, be consistent in talking truth to power, on justice, on fairness, on equality, on inclusivity. Now, what happens when somebody who was not in that platform joins you? And that is where I want to pick on the wisdom of Ndi, for example. Ndi is saying, for example, Deputy President was not with us when we were talking of justice and fairness. Now he has joined us. Should we decide that it is not worth it, and we should simply say, you know what, you are not with us, therefore you cannot be here? No, I think we need everybody whom we need. If he was afraid of tear gas, now he's tear gassed with us. So be consistent. And what Boniface is showing us is the lack of the inconsistency And the consistent inconsistency of politicians is annoying. They are inconsistently consistent. Let us be consistent on truth, justice, fairness, and understand that nobody owes us anything and nobody looks out for our interest. But also, I think let us be wise. Wise in the sense that there is time that you might retreat or negotiate or broaden your agenda. That does not mean you have abandoned your ideals. It simply means that sometime in politics, the end justify the means. So you cannot simply say, because it's not a love affair, you know, Raila, Uhuru, or Ruto is not asking you to be his spouse, where you are saying, how do I feel about this person? It's about the issues. And so in issues, and when it comes to the issue of issues, I think you can work with even your unlikely enemy if they are articulating the same thing. For example, Ndi here put it straight to us that those who are opposed to BBI realize that for them to mount a serious campaign against BBI, they need Ruto and his allies. So then there is the other side, which will simply be almost very simplistic. No, I don't like Ruto. I don't want Ruto on my side opposing BBI. I will oppose it alone. Well, you can do that, but it looks like a suicidal note because you are alone. Even your own family are not there, but this person is coming with a constituency. So we need to look at and map bigger coalitions and fight together on issues.
All right. Sana. Thank you so much, OJWANG, for coming in. And thank you so much, Boniface Mwangi, for coming in today. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. It was a great discussion. We had all the tacklers ambao wamekuwa hapa kwa masaa mawili. Sasa vina comments ambazo wameanza kuleta. Naona Julius kwa sema General Bitok tell me the raise of 15.5% allocation to county is from a taxman's or borrowed loan from my base. All right. Interesting question. We get to tackle that tomorrow. Thank you so much, guys. This is a tackle, and the tackle ends now. See you tomorrow, and bye-bye. Take care.